This video is about resolution and understanding resolution when working in Photoshop, right? So first let's understand resolution by starting a new file. So if we go to File, New, we are met with a new document dialog box. And really what you're concerned about is these three things: a width, a height, and a resolution. Now in pixels, we can actually ignore resolution because we're setting the amount of basically dots that make up, right, an array of a raster image. So we need to be working then probably in something that's familiar with us. Inches is probably going to be familiar to most people. Now I have to decide what is the purpose of this document. Am I making a graphic to use online? Am I making a graphic for print? Well, we're pretty much from a print perspective in this Introduction to Graphic Design class. So we need to set then what we think it's going to print at. What's the size? So maybe I'm going to have an 8 by 6 image. And for it to be 8 by 6 images in print, it needs to be a 300 resolution. If I was working online, I might prepare it at 144 or 72 pixels, and it's a little confusing as to why I might work in two different things for screen, but if you take my web design class, you would learn why. But we need to know that we need to work at 300 pixels in the reproduction size, right? So if I created this, I can be assured that I've created a new file of it specified to my print size. But what happens when you find an image that you want to work with? Let me bring up an image here, right, that I downloaded on Unsplash. How do I know if it's of the right print size? Well, first of all, you need to know what is your target print size. How big on the page are you actually printing this? Does this need to be a background on an 11 by 17 poster, or is this a 2 by 3 image within maybe a magazine layout? The way to inspect that, though, is to go to Image Size. And here we can see, again, how many pixels comprise of this. Right, and so we see it's by default it's showing us 72 pixels. We don't care how many pixels per inch. We care about, inches, right? So let's switch it to inches first of all. And we know in print size we don't want it to be 300. But if I just went ahead and typed in 300 here, watch right here. Let me go back to that. So it's at 72. Note right here where it says these are the pixels that make up this raster image array. If I just type 300, you'll notice that all of a sudden that number gets really big, and this gets really blurry. What you're doing is resampling up, right, using bicubic interpolation. But we don't want to do that. So let's bring it back down so that it's at this, and we need to make sure we uncheck resample, right? And so now this number won't change. We're not going to add or take away any pixels whatsoever. And if I change it to 300, which is my target, you see that then I can print this image successfully at 11.5 inches by just over 17 inches, right? And so this is what we need to pay attention to. We don't want to have resample down and then say, well, I need it at 25 inches. Well, guess what? We're changing the quality there of our image, right? So I'm going to cancel out of this. So that's what you need to know. There's one more gotcha with resolution that can happen when working with an image, right? We have this much of an image, and you'll have to likely transform layers. In the layers video, you should understand, right? We can't really do anything to a background image, so I have to make a copy, right? Now I have this copy, and I'm free to move it around and do whatever it is I want to do with it, right? But we may want to change the image. The thing is, it's always okay to change an image to go smaller. It's never okay to make it go bigger. So say I needed to make this a little smaller to composite into something else. I could go to, let's see, there's a transform. Well, it's Command T is the way that I get into it usually. Right, Command T is the quick key for transform. I could probably find the transform right here. Here we go. Edit, transform. Right, if I just go into free transform, that will let me res it any way I want. It'll let me spin it if I kind of put my mouse over the thing, just like in Illustrator. This pretty much turns it into like how we move things around in Illustrator, right? But the thing is, I'm going to not accept that, is right, it'll still allow me to make it bigger. We don't want to do that. If we want to make it smaller, you can do that with impunity. But never res it up, because again, it's just like as if we went and typed in that resolution bigger. So we would be causing those effects. Now, can you get away with a little bump? Probably, right? But for the most part, we want to, a little bump, I mean like that, right? I don't mean like let's make it giant, right? Like we don't want to do that. And I just hit escape just to get out of the transform, right? I'll put together a whole another video on transforms, but that's something with transforms and resolution that you need to be aware of.